like a freaking idiot. Ugh, I'll do anything for a Klondike bar.
Go on, go, yep. You gotta go that way anyways.
It broke. I broke my I know you probably thought I was cap when I said I'd be more consistent with my uploads, even though I didn't think I'd make this particular video in a while. Here we are. I don't care what anybody says. This is the greatest car on the planet. So allow me to give you a tour of the best car ever made. As I always mention in all my reliability update, just car videos in general, I am a guru when it comes to shopping for cash cars, Facebook Marketplace, whatever you want to call it, just any used car in general. I'm good at it because when I shoot for a car, especially for myself, it is indeed for a reason my dream cash car. When I say dream cash car, rear wheel drive, V8, big boat of a sedan, or the proper term, the Panther platform, which consists of the Ford Crown Victoria, the Mercury Grand Marquis, and of course the Lincoln Town Car. Now, I didn't really mind which three of those cars that I got. I just knew I wanted like the early 2000s all the way until they stopped making these cars in 2011, right up in there, because this was kind of a nice, attractive look, at least on the exterior. As far as the powertrain goes, these cars were really only offered with rear wheel drive, V8, floaty, pillowy, cushiony, soft ride of fun. Let's talk about the backstory of me and this car. Now, I've been looking at this car for about a month before I actually decided to make an initial purchase. The listing was so terrible that the car didn't even show up whenever you would type in Panther platform or Town Car, Crown Victoria or whatever. The listing was so bad that the actual title of the car was good condition. And then the rest of the description was basically where it was located. There are only 3 pictures of this car. I contacted the seller, or at least made my own little version of, hey, is this still available? Then they contacted me back a few days later, said, yeah, can we get your phone number so we can talk? And they called me a couple of days after that, after I gave them my phone number, and it turned out to be this old lady, and she kept me on the phone for about 45 minutes to an hour explaining the history, the reasons why she doesn't want this car anymore and stuff like that. So I figured it was pretty legit. So on that day, after getting off the phone with her, I called my boy up. I don't know who else would be at the last minute down for a 6-hour in total road trip, but my boy Jose came through. I said, hey, you want to go on a road trip? He's like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, let's go. 3 hours there and 3 hours back. We test drove it with the previous owner, looked around and made sure everything was pretty good. It looked all nice and clean, pretty legit. Everything worked just fine. So I decided to purchase it there in that small little village town. My boy Jose drove my Buick back, which is what we took over there, and I drove this back. I always knew I wanted one of these land yachts, or the proper term, the Panther platform. I obviously could have had one of these a long time ago if I wasn't so bipolar with the way I feel about cars. No wonder why I had a Ford Fiesta, 2 Dodge Chargers, a Ram Classic V6, Kia Sorento, 2 Nissan Altimas, a Ford Ranger, a Ford F-150, a Buick LeSabre, and a Ford Taurus. And this is probably where I'm going to give it a rest, at least for a while, because not only am I running out of room to put these things, but you kind of don't need anything else. You already got your cruiser, your daily, your workhorse, and your sentimental classic. So let's talk about exactly what I have right behind me. This is a 2007 Lincoln Town Car, Signature Limited, right there as it says on the rear pillar. So fun fact about this car, which makes the second 2007 I've ever owned. I still have my 2007 Ford F-150. And speaking of that Ford F-150, another fun fact about this car, this is my second V8. Obviously that F-150 has the 5.4. This has the legendary 4.6. One of the biggest selling points about this car, period, because that's probably the best motor Ford has ever produced in the history of automobiles, period. Anyway, and just another exterior thing, I guess you can say, even though I've already kind of mentioned this to a couple of people, I'm not a big fan of this exterior color. Even though I've only had this car for 2 weeks, I think it's already grown on me, because everybody already makes fun of my Buick with the gold and saying, oh, it's an old man car. Now people are saying this is an old lady car because it is blue. Typically you'll see older women jump out of a vehicle with this exterior color. But either way though, I got my old man car, my old lady car. I'm happy either way. It's not about who's attracted to it. It's about me and liking it and the reliability, which is the reason why I go for such interesting vehicles. And also on that note as well, I used to be a fanatic about my vehicles. I've had new cars, never had a cosigner, never had a repo. I just got tired of the stress that just involves in your life, just being a fanatic about your new car's paint and stuff like that, which is why I decided to make the smart move, live a little bit better and simpler, and lose less hair and deal with used cars. Now, obviously, there's different types and levels and grades of used cars. I'm not gonna drive around with any tape or trash bags on the windows or on the fender, the lights or whatever. They're good shape used car. The only car I'm a fanatic about still to this day is my Ranger, even though that is a 21-year-old truck at this point for 10 years. The anniversary video is coming up soon, so look out for that. All right, you guys know I'm learning fast. Let's get to the good stuff. Have I had any problems with this 4.6 liter V8? This is literally the motor I grew up with and carried me throughout my whole childhood, most of my teenage years, because my dad still has to this day, has owned since new a 1997 Ford F-150 with this, even though that's a 10-year older motor. This is probably pretty much still the same. They probably haven't done too much to it, with 220 horsepower and about 290 pound-foot of torque. So just obviously a little under, quite a bit under the 5.4 liter V8 that was available. But this was the motor to get right here if you wanted stress-free living. As far as a V8, this is what I've always wanted to have one of my own of, and here it is right in front of me. Now, believe it or not, I don't know why everybody hates when I say this, but this car, Carfax proven, has 77,000 miles on it. This thing is still practically brand new, because I know you've seen those limos and taxis with 400, 500,000 miles on this 4.6 liter V8. So I don't know why everybody has a problem with when I say that. This thing has 77,000 miles, not just reading off of the odometer screen, but Carfax proven. Check out how dirty this engine bay is. Now, like I mentioned, we picked this up from a small little dusty town from an old lady, nice little old lady, and pretty much the whole exterior and most of the interior was about this dirty as well. It was dusty. It's a little bit better now since I wiped off the interior with a damp rag after I was done washing the exterior. But I am not touching anything in here as far as cleaning it. I'm not doing any preventative maintenance. We're gonna leave it just like this. If it runs perfectly fine, we're gonna leave it nice and dirty, because I've learned my lesson. Like I said, the previous owner kept me on the phone for about 45 minutes to an hour explaining about this car, as she already mentioned, as you can see from that angle. If not, you'll get a closer look up in a second. A brand new alternator, and she also replaced the rear airbags. This car has air suspension in the rear. One sort of red flag kind of I noticed about this car though is that it was about 1,500 miles overdue for an oil change. So the very next day after I drove this car back home from that 3-hour road trip went to get the oil change and the windows tinted and filled up the tank of gas. And we'll talk about the gas mileage in a second. I've never seen a used car with such a clean headliner. The leather is so nice. This thing doesn't even have a dashboard cover and not a single crack on the dashboard. Take a look at this really cool double flip, sideways I guess you could say, center console. I really don't know what it is about it, but somehow I keep getting lucky enough to get the same interior setups as all my other cars. You got the 6 seats. You got the column shifter on the rear, just like in the Buick, just like in the F-150, just like in the Ranger. And it just flipped. Look, you got all this, even though I'm the only person who's ever in any of these cars ever, period. But still, it's just really cool to have this classic 90s, early 2000s setup. I wish they still made cars like this. Only thing missing would be some really nice vinyl flooring. That's what you call it, right? Vinyl. But in this car, it wouldn't really make much sense. So the carpet is fine as well. And since we're talking about carpet, let's take a look at the interior color. I love lighter interior, exterior colors. It's a break from looking at the regular gray, black, whatever kind of boring color you're used to seeing. This light tannish brown with the wood and this nice kind of faded gold that goes around the entire center control stack. Since Lincoln is about its luxury, just like Buick would be, I like to compare this car a little bit to my Buick LeSabre. Only thing this car is missing that the LeSabre does have is the very rare, incredibly cool for tech back in 2004 for that Buick, but it doesn't have a heads-up display. This is a 2007. I don't even know if Lincoln even offered that in any of their cars, but the Buick, being a 2004, has it. This car does not, but this car still has your heated seats just like the Buick. It has the memory seats just like the Buick, power seats just like the Buick, power mirrors just like the Buick, wood on the interior just like the Buick, light interior color just like the Buick, 6 seats just like the Buick, manual steering wheel just like the Buick, CD and cassette just like my Buick. I'll tell you one thing the Buick doesn't have that this car does have though, is the analog clock up here. I'm not even exactly sure how to change this and make this time right. I'm pretty sure it's the big faded gold buttons on the left and the right side of the clock, but I'm not gonna deal with that for right now. I'm just enjoying how awesome, and yes, this is how I sit when I drive this car. This seat is all the way back with the hand at the bottom of the steering wheel. Over on the left side, you will notice this car, just like my 07 F-150 and my 2019 Ford Fiesta when I had it, has automatic headlights. Now, me, I'm still old school. I will just turn them off and on no matter what. I don't really care about that automatic headlight. Sitting back here like this, when I drive this car, it feels almost wider than my F-150 if I would extend the mirrors all the way out. This car still feels a little wider than that. And it just floats, dude, just like the Buick, but a little bit better. So you can turn the traction control on and off on this car, but the F-150, you just slipping and sliding unless you turn the four-wheel drive on. Lockable glove box over here on the passenger side, beautiful. Leather still feels great. Since we're on the inside though, we can talk about the cons. Let's start with the fact that you have this little piece of plastic over on the passenger side that's kind of protruding out, and you got to push it in sometimes. And then next to that is this little hole right here on the left. It actually hides the airbag light. So at some point in time, this got pushed in, and obviously I'm gonna try to push it back out, but that's what's supposed to be right there in that little circle. You can still see it when you turn on the car's ignition, but it's pushed in and it just kind of looks awkward to me if you know what you're looking at. Also up here to the top, another con is that this clip right here for the driver's sun visor is broken. So we're gonna have to get one of those. Yeah, this car is not all glamorous. Of course, it is nice and clean and kept up with, but this is the first time I'm ever sitting in these back seats and they feel better than my mattress. First thing I do is get this thing tinted. I call it my cocoon effect, where I have 5% all the way around, and then the front browser on the front windshield is a little bit lower than usual. It's almost half of the windshield because I like to feel like I'm in a cocoon and just wrapped in my own little bubble when I'm driving my cars. Now, in here with this tint, it just feels nice and comfortable. If I haven't mentioned already, every single door has like some type of little ashtray spot. Just like my LeSabre, we have climate control vents on the back of the center console, but you don't have any type of charging area, sadly. At least you could charge up there if you have a long enough cord. Bam, you got an armrest if you really needed it in the back seat. All you have is two very shallow cup holders. So hopefully you got some type of like glass or something like that, some type of can of soda, it would fit right in there nicely, because anything else would probably flop out on any turn, even though this car floats like a cloud. Not to mention, when you're back here, you can really get a good look at how well taken care of this headliner is. Not even a stain on this headliner. I'm serious. I'm looking around for one. There's a stain on the passenger seat belt, but there's no stain on the headliner like how you would see on every other car. Oh, another con I guess you could say about the interior is that this car only came with 3 floor mats. So there's one right here where I'm sitting, there's no floor mat, disappeared, it's gone, but there's one right here and then 2 for the driver. So hopefully I can find one that matches, or I'll probably just have to get all new ones. Either way though, that's just something to know. Just listen to the way the door sounds when you close it. Oh my. So since we covered all the interior cons, let's talk about the exterior, which is mostly body damage. When you have such a massive overhang, the overhang being the distance between the back tire and the actual back bumper back there, which is all this, probably like damn near 2 feet of car that's still left behind the wheel hanging off back here. Let's talk about this. You can't even really see it until you actually see it. It's a nice crease that goes along this overhang pretty much all the way to the rear taillight. It might look like something like this, which is actually a part of the body line, the body work, but this is actually like some type of dent. I don't know what could do such a long scrape and not take off any paint, but it is what it is. It's there, and it kind of bothers me a little bit, even though you don't see it until, like I said, I just pointed it out. And then also, let's go to the back over here. Once again, probably blaming it on the overhang, but it is what it is though. This down here, as you can see, it's protruded out a little bit because it looks like it got caught up on some type of steep driveway. Not to mention all of these tons of scratches. Once you get close to the car, you could tell that this thing is definitely a 2007. It's been on this planet Earth for quite some time, but this has definitely seen some better days. So it's not all bad. The bumper is still here, of course. It is definitely missing some plastic retainers or whatever that's holding it down there, this little plastic part, along with the bumper, but we can definitely get that fixed as well. That'll obviously be another how-to video in the future. And since we're back here, let's talk about the trunk situation. Now, this is definitely a unique trunk, not just based on the fact that you have to press the key fob twice, 2 clicks, and then there you go. It just kind of pushes you out of the way because it is self-rising. Also something pretty cool I'll show you in a second is soft closing as well. Now in here, like I mentioned, bam, these are the old airbags that were replaced, just like with the alternator right before I bought the vehicle from the previous owner. And something else that you will notice is that these weird symmetrical upright shelves and stuff like that in here kind of destroys the purpose. I'm like, when I had my Taurus, you could fold the seats all the way flat and pretty much just stick your legs back here in the trunk and just have like a bed pretty much of a car. This situation, these cars do not allow that. Back here you have some type of off on kill switch. I'm pretty sure that's got something to do with the battery or the fuel. And then speaking of fuel, you have this pull cord, emergency pull cord, because the door right here is electric. There's a button on the driver's door where you press it and then it comes open. But at least all the trunk liner is still back here. And on this side, you have this really cool, awesome cover that covers your jack and your spare tire. Cute little donut back there. And then, of course, your emergency latch right here up at the top. And then when you close your trunk, guess what? It just closes itself. Over here, we could talk about some more cons. Probably the biggest on this entire car is this dent right here. Now, of course, the 3 pictures that were on the listing of this car didn't even show this view. When we got there, I seen it, I was like, wow, that is a pretty ugly dent, but at least the entire fender is still here, and this can probably be touched up a little bit for probably about $350. But not just that dent, take a look at the side paneling here. I didn't even know this was plastic, but it's fading. Unbelievably handy, useful feature right here, which is the door code situation. Now, the previous owner has no idea what this code is, but I'll have to do the same situation I did with my Taurus, take it to any Ford dealership, and they'll probably charge me like 30 bucks again to figure out the actual factory code for this particular vehicle. But at least you can lock using the last 2 buttons. It's like how any Ford vehicle still to this day, you press the last 2 buttons and it locks the entire car. And the previous owner only gave me a regular key and just a key fob. So who knows where the other spare key and all that stuff is at, but at least we got one of each. Driving this car, especially as far back as I do with the seat like that, it feels like you have almost 10 feet of car still ahead of you because you can't even see this from the way I sit. Let's take a look at the wheel combo right here. I'm not too familiar with the different wheel designs that Lincoln offered back in 07 for the town car or any Panther platform wheel for that matter, but these look pretty cool, even though they are a little bit corroded and have a little bit of scratching here and there. Of course, this is a 20-year-old car, pretty much, 18-year-old car. I also do like the fact that I'm looking at 4 disc brakes all the way around, no drum brakes, thankfully. These tires are fairly new, front and back, so I don't have to worry about that. Now, I had a look in mind for if I got the Crown Vic, I had a certain look. If I had the Grand Marquis, which is like the middle grade pretty much, I had a certain look. And if I got the town car, this is exactly what it would look like, even though I'm not necessarily a big fan of this exterior color, even though I'm kind of getting used to it now, even though I've only had this car for 2 weeks. You know, everybody makes fun of me saying my Buick is the old man car with the gold. Well, they call this the old lady car with the blue. This is more of a feminine color. And I'm probably going to keep this car exactly the way it looks. Obviously get some of the blemishes and stuff like that out, the dents and whatnot. But, you know, I always said if I ever got a 4.6, I'm going to put a nice little exhaust like how I did on my truck with the 5.4. But I feel like if you put some type of exhaust on this Lincoln, it would kind of ruin the car, you know? Maybe if it was like the Crown Vic or maybe even the Grand Marquis. But the Lincoln is just like, man, this is too much of a subtle approach to put some type of a loud or some kind of growling exhaust, even though it's a V8 and you really want to, but I think I'm gonna just keep it like this. I almost forgot about, you noticed hyper flashing when you turn on the right turn signal. Well, that has to do with this bulb right up here on the top of the taillight assembly, which is out, or at least one of the filaments is out, which is the turn signal. Obviously, that's a small little fix. I already did the bulbs on my Buick. I'm gonna have to do those over again because I put some cheap Amazon LED lights in there. Obviously will not do the same. I'll probably just go straight to AutoZone, Advanced Auto Parts, O'Reilly, and actually use a regular traditional halogen bulb because those cheap Amazon LEDs just do not last for more than a day and a half. Those non-car people out there, you're like, whatever, it's just another car. To those people who have some type of humor, you can understand and appreciate a car like this. Like I mentioned in my Buick LeSabre video, if whatever I pull up in has you scratching your head and thinking twice about what was he thinking, I know I made a right choice because I don't care if it's a grandmama, a granddaddy car, it's reliable and it's different, it's fun, and it looks good. I'll drive whatever. I'll do anything for a Klondike bar. So I hope you guys enjoyed this pretty much a short tour of my dream cash car. I've always wanted one of these Panther platform land yacht of behemoth sedan luxuriness. Like I mentioned before, if I didn't already in this video, it didn't really matter if it was the Ford Crown Victoria, the Mercury Grand Marquis, which is sort of pretty much in the middle, or the Lincoln Town Car, which is basically the highest trim level, the luxury. And here's somebody else in the background interrupting my audio. for no reason. There's not even an outlet right there. You can't even leave. So you gotta make a U-turn right here behind the camera like a freaking idiot. Ugh.
Go on, go, yep. You gotta go that way anyways for like an hour and a half trying to do this take because these idiots keep doing this shit.
Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Obviously, there's more uploads to come, not just on this beauty right here, but all the rest of my vehicles and anything else I do. So you guys stay tuned for that. And like my old outro, I'm trying to keep that as well. That's it.